Okay, so I always start these sessions the same way, which is I ask how many of my typing sessions have you seen before. I'm guessing fewer than your sister.
You're right. Yeah. I have watched a few, watched a lot of the videos, but yeah, she definitely will pour over that information. She can't get enough of information.
Okay, cool. So, but you're not totally unfamiliar with typology or cognitive functions or my process. So, okay, there's that as well. Well, then I'd like to start with sort of the traditional way to start, which is I wonder if you can recount for me a series of insignificant events that comprised your day.
Okay, well, I woke up because the dogs woke me up because they wanted to eat. So woke up, took care of them, checked my phone, checked my work email. My work always communicates through email, so make sure I check my email. Um, Tried to think about what my plans for the day would be. You know, we were going to kind of watch football and hang out, so trying to coordinate times for that and check base with everybody on when that was going to happen, so then I would know what kind of time frame I was working with to get things done. Um,
Did you prepare like snacks and stuff for people?
Sometime, most of the time I do. This time I didn't. Well, we just ordered food, and it was just a little easier. But most of the time I do. I like to have drinks and things kind of planned out.
Do you have a preferred football team or just whatever game's on?
I do not. I actually do not follow football much, but my mother and my sister do. And I know they like it, and it's just kind of an activity we can all do together, and they enjoy it. So I'll hang out with them, and I know enough about the game that I can at least follow what's going on. So I'm not totally in the dark.
And you enjoy spending time with them regardless. It doesn't really matter what's on. Or would you prefer to be watching something else if you really had your druthers?
I would prefer to be watching something else, but I think that the things that I'm interested in, they are not interested in.
Okay. So talk to me about your what kind of TV shows or movies or other kind of like non YouTube video stuff that you watch.
Um, I guess a lot of the things that I'm interested in are uh, fantasy or sci-fi in nature. Um, Huge Lord of the Rings fan. Um, I like Marvel. I like anything Star Trek, Star Wars, anything that's just kind of that makes you kind of.
Do you have Netflix?
I do.
Have you watched like 3%?
No.
Have you watched any of those science fiction series on Netflix? They got quite a few of them. I get recommended them all the time because I'm also a fan of that kind of stuff.
I Something that I've noticed with myself is that I tend to be a bit repetitive with the things that I watch. Um, it takes a little bit for me to incorporate new things. I tend to be very I guess I'm not sure how to put it. I guess repetitive, but not necessarily repetitive, but I know what I like. I know what I enjoy. I know what I want to get from the story and how it makes me feel. And um,
So you can rewatch
I
things a
guess
lot.
I do.
Okay.
I tend to do that.
Okay. Cool. And do you feel the same emotions when you rewatch it? Like you can anticipate what it's gonna do to you, what how it's gonna engage you emotionally, and then it consistently has the same impact on you as you rewatch it.
Um, I would say yes and no. I definitely will go to the same songs, the same general movies, TV shows that I know are going to elicit certain emotions for me, make me feel a certain way, or sometimes, if I haven't watched something in a certain amount of time, I can watch it again and get all new emotions from it and all new feelings from it. Um, so I
Okay.
feel like I can.
Is this something you like to do by yourself, or do you like to do it with a partner, or what?
Um, I used to do it with my dad a lot before he passed away. He liked kind of the same things. Um, but generally, it's not usually a group thing. I'm open to doing it as a group thing. But typically, it's something that I can do all by myself and just be um, totally content with that. Like, it does not have to be with somebody else, and I can
Okay.
totally enjoy it.
Okay. So, do you go to bed at a regular time and get up at a regular time, or does it change night to night?
I think I've gotten a little more structured as I've gotten a little bit older. But definitely when I was younger, teens, 20s, it was, when I felt like it. Um, I would go to bed when I wanted, wake up when I wanted, unless I had something I knew I needed to do. Then of course I would, keep myself, to whatever time frame I needed to.
Okay.
But
Let's say that you have something broken around the house. Are you likely to fix it yourself? Call like a handyman person? Ask a friend, or what?
I think when something breaks or I need something that needs to be fixed, um, I think I would probably tend to look towards someone else for advice or to fix it. Not even necessarily because I maybe couldn't think of how it needs to be fixed, but maybe I doubt my ability to be able to fix it.
Okay. Do you have any like social media, like Facebook or Instagram, that you do?
I have a Facebook account. Um, I've never had a Twitter account. I've never had an Instagram account. I think I maybe made technically an Instagram account, but never used it. I don't.
Like me.
No, you're fine. It's okay. I don't. Facebook is about the extent of my social media.
And are you more likely to post, or just respond to other people's posts and or like them or whatever?
A little bit of both. I have noticed that I could probably count on my two hands the number of times I've posted selfies. I don't tend to post things so much about myself or like me, um, at least directly about me. Like I said, selfies, things like that. I'll post things like memes, something that might be a little inspirational, something that might be something that I found inspirational or a little uplifting or that kind of word of encouragement. And, maybe that might make somebody else, you know,
Like to
feel the way I felt when I saw it.
today I choose joy. Like that.
Sort of, yeah. I feel like they get to be like things like, things like, if you didn't do okay today, that's okay. There's tomorrow. You don't have to. Um, oh gosh, I guess I'm losing my train of thought a little. I'm
Do
not.
you have signs up in your house?
Um, a couple,
The reason I'm
not
laughing
many.
about this is just because um, my ex-wife, I lived with, I was with her for like 13 years. She had these signs up all over the house, like "Today I choose joy," so like that.
I have no, I don't. Most of what I have that I've decorated with are things that are like um trinkets, tokens, items that usually hold some kind of sentimental value or memory for me. Um, I'm very meticulous with my bookshelf and my books, and I'll have some trinkets on there. Um,
Do you,
I
do
think
you like to go to
that
yard sales?
no,
No. Okay.
not really, no.
Do you like to go to like thrift stores or anything like that, or you just you pick up things when you travel?
Yeah, no thrift stores, no things like that. I would say some of the trinkets I guess little things that will like I will see maybe an item in a store that I like, that maybe reminds me of something, or and I will like to decorate with those things. I have a jewelry box that was given to me when I was about 14. That was from Okinawa, Japan, and it's like that lacquered cherry wood, and it's beautiful. And one of the reasons it means so much to me is because I've had it so long.
Yeah.
I have things like that that I've had for years, and um, I like being surrounded by those things. That just gives me some kind of, I don't know. I like the emotions. I like the memories that it brings up when I look at them, and I that's the kind of thing that I tend to gravitate to when I decorate.
Cool. Um, okay, so let's let me ask you to rephrase a sentence. So I'm gonna give you a sentence, and the sentence is: there's some wildlife beyond that fence. And I'd like you to say it in different words, the same sentence.
There's wildlife beyond that fence. Beyond the fence. There are creatures beyond that hill.
Okay. Another one?
There there's wildlife over the fence. I would say there is wildlife.
Okay. How about this? Can you tell me 6 different reasons to dig a hole in the backyard?
6 different reasons to dig a hole in the backyard. I guess if you're planting something, maybe if you're trying to build a garden to plant something, if you are going to put in a pool, um, if you're trying to bury a time capsule, if you were digging a hole, maybe plant a tree. Well, that kind of goes back to planting.
Trying to get yourself closer to sea level.
I guess that'd be an interesting way to look at it.
Like, I want to be closer to sea level, so I'll just stand in a hole in the backyard. Okay. Let's see. So, next I'm going to do, all right, we're going to do the traditional kind of word association thing. Like, I'll say blue, and you say what word comes to mind.
Okay.
So, blue,
Sapphire.
desert,
Dry.
rain,
Peace. For some reason, I thought peace. I love the rain, so.
Okay. Now I'd like you to tell me a personal anecdote related to blue, and then a personal anecdote related to desert, and a personal anecdote related to rain.
Like how?
Well, for example, earlier this is a couple days ago, I was going to make a video and I was going to put on a blue shirt, but then I decided, since I was going to use the green screen, I wanted something that contrasted more, so I change to an orange shirt.
Okay. I think sapphires are beautiful because I enjoy gemstones and the variety of colors that they come in for desert. I think there's beauty in the desert, even when people think that it's dry or barren or dead. Sometimes there's life where you can't always see it. And for the rain, I think that sitting outside on my patio with my dogs under an umbrella while the rain comes down would be a very peaceful way to spend an afternoon.
Okay. So the thing is, none of those things were actually anecdotes.
I know I was really bad at that. I was so bad, and I knew it, but I couldn't stop it. I couldn't.
All right. Well, can you remember a time that you've been to the desert?
Well, I live in Nevada.
Okay. So you
I
go to
live
the
in Las
desert all the
Vegas.
time.
Right. I'm originally from California, born and raised, but
Okay. Cool. So, what did you have for breakfast yesterday? Do you remember?
breakfast yesterday. I did not eat breakfast yesterday.
Did you have lunch yesterday?
I did. I had a grilled cheese sandwich.
Okay. Um, what if you were suddenly bestowed with a winning Powerball? You got like $200 million or whatever. How would your life change?
I think that my life would change in the way that money sometimes can cause a lot of problems, but in and of itself provides a certain level of security. Um, and I think that one of the things I would do is make sure that all of my family and friends were taken care of, and that that's something that they would never have to worry about. Probably, buy a house, um, you know, and with whatever was left over, I would probably try to do whatever I could to help other people.
When are you going to the
And
casino?
not often. I'm not a gambler. I'm
obviously,
not a
yeah,
gambler.
obviously, if you just won $200 million at Powerball, it would be very silly to go gambling.
Yeah, no, no. I'm not a gambler. Maybe on the very rare occasion going out with friends a little bit, but I don't really do that much. So
Yeah, I, I,
I
I
just feel like
gamble
that makes sense.
when I go to Vegas. I gamble, but I always go like as soon as I like lose a couple $100 or something, I'm just like, okay, this is dumb. I don't know why I'm doing this.
I couldn't even say I've ever lost that kind of nothing. I've never done that. I would never.
Well, it's not a
I just,
vacation destination for you. That's why.
but that's true. That's true. You got to have a little risk. No risk, no reward, I guess.
It's like if I'm gonna go to Vegas or Laughlin, which sometimes we go to Laughlin, I go there knowing in advance I'm gonna lose a couple $100 gambling. Like it's sort of budgeted for. I never expect to
Right.
win. I don't know why I even bother then, but it's usually I'm up at some point and I go, see, this is why I gamble, and then
It's the
invariably,
adrenaline. It's
yeah,
the rush of it while you're doing it, for sure.
yeah, okay. So can you tell me what kind of thing that you do, or that somebody calls you out on, or that you make a mistake about that makes you mad at yourself? Uh,
When I
Go
when
ahead.
I don't when I don't always budget my time and maybe other people are waiting on me. I've gotten a little better at that as I've gotten older, but and if I'm not maybe not always considering how my actions would affect somebody else, which again I've gotten a little better about as I've gotten older.
So you mean like if you
Um,
accidentally hurt someone's feelings? Or do you mean like if you did something that messed up someone else's plans and you didn't account for that when you did the thing?
I think I definitely will hold myself accountable if I do something wrong. I think sometimes it's my inability to see that what I would do would affect them in that way.
Okay.
Like I wouldn't always be able to see that, oh, by me not doing this, that now affected this person, even though that was not my intention at all.
So when you say doing, do you mean really doing things, or are you saying talking about saying things? Can you give me any
Maybe a little bit of
examples?
both.
Can you give me any examples? Like, here's an example of me getting mad at myself. I I walk over to hand Rachel the paper towels earlier, and then I'm walking back here and I kick this thing over like an idiot, and I go, God damn it, Eric! Why are you so dumb about shit like that? That's the kind of thing that makes me mad at myself. Is knocking shit over and or like picking something up and going to move it across the room and then realizing I have to put it down because I forgot to move something that's in between me and where I'm going.
Right. I think what I would, what other people would point out that I have as a weak point that I would get upset about with myself is that I don't always put sometimes the best systems in place in my life to get things done most efficiently. Um, and then I feel like I imagined how things would go. I imagined how the plan would work, and I thought about it all, and somehow it didn't work.
So if you
And
don't account for something, like normally you think you can, do you normally think I can figure out all the ways this might go wrong? And if you don't account for something, that's when you get mad at yourself.
yes,
Okay. Um. So, do you think in general you're better at determining how somebody else feels in a given moment, or how you feel in a given moment?
sometimes a little bit of both. I feel like I'm usually a very emotionally aware driven person. I feel like my emotions play a large role in a lot of what I do and what I decide. Um, and I feel like I can be good at picking up on people's facial expressions and body language, and seeing when the mood changes quickly. Um, I might not see every cue, but I can definitely see the sudden shifts. The sudden shifts, um, and I think that it will then make me very aware of what I'm thinking and feeling. Um, it kind of puts me in like a hyper awareness. Like I
Okay.
can coast through for a while and like not be aware, but then I'll see something and suddenly I'm like, ooh, okay, back to reality. Like what's happening right now? Something's definitely happening right now.
Okay. Um, let me ask you some TI questions. Can you tell me who my mother's father's wife is in relation to me?
This is a moment where I have to be honest because I've heard you say that one before, so I know that's the grandmother.
Okay. Okay.
Because that
That's
I
fine.
have a thing about being honest. I have a thing about
That,
being honest, and I want the process to go the way it's supposed to.
that's
So I
fine.
don't think it's fair if I know the answer.
Hold on one second. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Hi.
Hello?
Hi. Yeah, I'm in the middle of a typing session right now.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. I'll call you later.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye bye.
That's this mom and her kids. She's always trying to get them to learn something. It's like just God, I'm tired of like just let your kids just relax for a while for fuck's sake. Anyway,
Sure. I guess I understand. That's that mom kind of trying to control them, but it comes from a place of love.
yeah. Uh, okay, well, let me ask some more TI questions then. So, can you tell me who my father's sister's only son's sister is in relation to me?
Your father's son's
Father's sister's only son's sister.
in relation to me, the son's only sister cousin?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Um, if if some fruits are apricots and all apricots are orange, is it necessarily the case that some fruits are orange?
Yes.
Okay. Um, Let me try a couple of missing generalizations. So here's an example. Um, you can't come in here. You're not a poet. The missing generalization is only poets can come in here. And your missing generalization has to start with either only, no, or all. Okay? So here's your two parts that I'm going to give you. She must like sandwiches. She's related to the Earl of Sandwich. What's the missing
She must
generalization? This has to start with all, no, or only.
she must like sandwiches because she's related to the Earl of Sandwich. I know it's probably something really obvious, and
It's fine. No, it doesn't matter. I have a pretty good. Your answers on your TI questions here are clarifying for me, regardless. So, it's either all relatives of the Earl Sandwich love sandwiches, or no relatives of the Earl Sandwich don't love sandwiches, or only sandwich lovers are born of the Earl Sandwich's family.
okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so now let's. Okay, you're kind of a tricky one. You don't test extroverted intuition polar as far as I can tell. Well, let's try a couple inky pinkies. Have you ever heard me do inky pinky questions before?
I believe so. I've actually heard my sister talk about it,
Okay, so the example is
and I'm not good at them. I'm just gonna say
okay.
I don't think I'm good at them.
Okay, that's fine. The example is mountain fountain would be the answer. Okay, I'd give you a clue like hilltop water spout and tell you it's an inky pinky, and the answer is mountain fountain. So, in other words, the answer always rhymes. And
Right.
all right, so let me. This is uh, a large duck-like creature that's not tight, and it's an ink pink.
A large duck-like creature
That's not,
that's not tight.
and it's an ink pink.
A large duck-like creature. It's not tight.
It's a loose goose.
It's so obvious when you say it, but like I'm like, yeah.
Okay. All right. This is beginning to narrow things down a bit for me, I think. Let me try a couple more expert intuition questions. So, can how about we'll do another inky pinky here. This is um this is a cart pulled by a large lizard-like creature, and it's an inky pinky.
A cart pulled by a large wizard-like creature.
Lizard-like lizard.
Lizard, sorry. Wizard, sorry. I probably got wizards on the brain. A large cart.
A cart pulled by a large lizard-like creature. It's a...
What? No.
Yeah, you're on the right track.
Wagon. By a lizard-like creature. It's a wagon. Wagon dragon.
Dragon wagon, right.
Dragon wagon, sorry.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Either direction is fine. All right, now can you make up one of those for me?
I would need, I don't know, I'd have to think about it. I mean, I think I could, but
Okay, well then let's play
it might take me a little time. It would take me probably a little time, but I probably could.
Okay, then let me ask you a different question. I've got a new invention. It's headphones that have flashlights that go out like this, so that they're like headlights for when you're jogging with your headphones on.
Okay.
And I need to come up with a name for it. Marketing department says we have to have a snappy name to sell it. So can you help me come up with some snappy names for my new invention?
So there are lights on the headphones, correct?
Yeah, like headlights that go like this, so you can see where you're going.
Music light, headphones. Like, it's got to be a snappy. So like, jogger. I don't know. I think of things like night light, night brights, night sight. I'm trying to figure out a way to incorporate the music into the light part. Music beams, because they'd be listening to music and it'd be like a beam of light.
Sure, yeah. Head beams. You call them the head beams. Half headphones,
That'd be a
half
good one.
beams.
Right.
Okay. Can you break down the task of cleaning out the sink into 6 steps?
Cleaning out the sink. I guess it depends what's in the sink, but I'll pretend there's dishes in the sink. There's dishes in the sink, so I need to get the soap and sponge, wash the dishes, set the dishes out to dry, put them away when they're dry, wipe down the sink and make sure it's nice and clean and dry, and then put the rag in the laundry bin.
That's a nice 6 steps there. That's a nice tidy 6 steps. Okay, so...
One thing I will... Oh, so sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
you go ahead.
One thing just to add, I think I have struggled the most with determining whether I am FI or FE. I have thought in the beginning that I was high FE, because I tend to, and maybe this is anecdotal, I tend to care about fairness, social norms, politeness, how you're supposed to behave in certain situations and how I expect that from other people. But at the same time, I am a very emotionally driven person. A lot of what I do correlates back to what I think, what I feel, what I value, who I am as a person. Like, I could have never do a job or work a job that did not fulfill what I felt was important to me or what I felt was a sense of purpose in life.
Okay.
So that,
well, I mean, the thing
identity is very important.
I'm having kind of the same trouble that you have, or you're describing here. I'm leaning heavily towards FI, but it's the question I've been wrestling with throughout this whole typing is whether you're FE or FI. I began thinking you were FE, and I've increasingly begun thinking you're FI. And part of the reason for that is your FE's your and this is not a good justification, but your FE seems to me good but not conscious, which is to say, uh, you're not doing a lot of active FEQing, which if you were an ESFJ ISFJ, which is kind of maybe where I was initially thinking, then I would expect you to do more nodding and smiling and encouraging me to continue talking and shit like that, right? That kind of stuff is normally to be expected from conscious high up FE. So, but your FE is good, like you're saying. I mean, you clearly validate on FE grounds. So fifth slot makes a fair amount of sense. And where I'm leaning at the moment is ISFP because I'm seeing what's probably polar extroverted intuition. There are moments where it seems a little better than polar, but so it's like, okay, well, it could be fourth, but you're not the same type as your sister. You're
No,
not an
no,
ISTJ.
no.
I think you're probably ISFP, but I'm not quite there yet all the way. It would make sense because you seem at first you seemed really SI, but you're not really providing a lot of actual SI. You're instead providing kind of NI nutshells of SI.
So I could say that when I was first trying to look at the different types and see where I fit in, I looked at INFJ and INFP the most. Because I could see where in the INFP I tend to want um, that imagination, those possibilities. I love that being stimulated. I love thinking about maybe the abstract. I'm very drawn to like abstract things, abstract concepts. Um, but there is this part of me that thought, and maybe that's just me like listening to too much anecdotal stuff about INFPs. Like I can tend to talk loud. I can be a very chatty person. And I think a lot of these INFPs that I've seen typed seemed a little more reserved, seemed a little more pensive. And I just don't feel like I always hold back like that.
I mean,
Um,
INFJ is actually more possible than INFP because INFP you would not score the way you do on the expert intuition tests. So I mean, I feel comfortable eliminating INFP. INFJ is possible because with ignoring extroverted intuition, you never quite know how it's going to show. But I don't see you as an extroverted feeling tool user. It just when I ask you like, well, when I asked you this sort of very straight up FEFI question, which was, do you feel usually like you can better identify your own emotions or the emotions of others? It felt as though you had clarity on your own emotions and talked about how in those instances when you remember to pay attention to other people's emotional displays, it's because something's gone amiss, you know?
right.
And that's much more consistent with FI than FE.
I think that's where I've gotten a little torn is because I think that when they talk about the FE that can, I don't want to say use other people's emotions against them necessarily, but when they use the term manipulate, I can do that. Because if I can sometimes sit there and think of what to say or what word might trigger a certain response that I want, whether for good or bad. It's not always a bad thing. And I think that's why I kind of shied away from that term manipulate. The first time I heard it, I'm like, oh, I'm not manipulative. I'm not manipulative. I'm like, yeah, but you'll say things. And I thought to myself, but you'll say things to elicit a response. Um, and you
Why
will
else
sit
would
there.
one say things?
I don't know. I don't know. But there is this part of me that I do tend to pay attention to what other people do. I will tend to be. I can be a people watcher. I don't know where that comes from. Maybe that may not be FE at all. People kind of fascinate me in a certain way. And I feel like that's one of the things that drives me to a lot of the stories that I like, is that watching people go through emotions, go through things, how they figure it out. And I tend to want to explore that, because I feel like there's always a message at the end. There's always a point. It's like, oh, you go through all this stuff, but it means this. This is the point. This is what it all boils down to. And I love it when I feel like I come to that aha moment.
Okay.
And
I mean, that what you're saying there, the aha moment thing seems consistent with third slot NI, which would be consistent with ISFP. Now,
okay.
a lot of the other stuff you're saying here, I'm kind of thrown because you're you're giving a lot of indications of SI without a lot of actual SI really that I can see.
Okay.
But that's also kind of consistent with ISFP with six slot SI demonstrative. So when I ask you to give
Okay.
me anecdotes, you give me your feelings about things instead, really.
Right.
And then, but you kind of recognize that you're not providing what I asked, which is also indicative of six slot, maybe. Do you get mad when you stub
Okay.
your toe or something like that?
Yes.
That makes you mad at yourself? Okay, that's also, that would be, it's like some people, they go, well, whatever, no big deal. Um,
No. No, I will get rate. Okay, so um I can get almost, like, I hate to say this because I know I'm probably going to allow this to be published, so it's a little embarrassing. That can almost make me ragey. If I'm doing about my thing and I'm busy, and if I just slam that toe or multiple toes on something, like, I'm done. We're angry. That's it. The day's done. Um, I'm like, what is the point in life? like, like I will get to that point, and I'm just like, it takes me a minute. It takes me a minute to come back to reality and be like, okay, you're way going overboard with this, but I can do that. Like, I will get very overboard with my emotions. Like, a lot of times I can be very cool and calm and collected, but if something violates a belief that I have, if something tramples anything that I feel is wrong, if somebody insults something that I like, or I see somebody else being insulted or mistreated, like, there's just this part of me that I will get, like, very defensive and very angry, and I won't always be able to control that. Like, I feel like I have to be like, no, that's not okay. That's not right. You can't do that.
I mean, that sounds to me like I could just clip that last little chunk there and title it ISFP, describing self. That sounds just like what I would expect how an ISFP to describe their relationships with their feelings and their decision making process. Also, your relationship with NI, that being an absolute value or a scorecard thing, you get a lot of satisfaction from when you do collapse down this large amount of data into a singular meaning. And it's consistent with the six slot SI, it's consistent with the NE polar. So yeah, I'm gonna say ISFP for you, and it sounds like maybe you and your sister had each other backwards.
That's crazy. That's not crazy, but I mean, that just blows my mind, because she was so convinced. I mean, I guess the same way I was convinced that she was ISFP. Um, and I thought, oh, I have to be some kind of IJ. Um, I thought it's got to be ISFJ, it's got to be INFJ. Neither one of them seemed to fully fit though, but the ISFJ seemed like it fit a little more.
I was leaning there at first, and then it's just it's the thing to remember about ISFP is they're actually a judging type. FI is a judging function. So even though MBTI calls them perceivers, you're really a judger.
Right. That's interesting. Um,
Yeah,
maybe I thought what was SI was the SE, the high SI was high SE.
your description
Maybe
of
because I didn't have my maybe because I didn't have my definitions
well, listen, your
correct.
first description of getting mad at yourself, which was about basically failing to follow through on things in a way that didn't impact the capacity of others to follow through on things, is suggestive of a second slot operational value of extroverted sensing, which says like you definitely expect yourself to be competent in that. And then the thing that makes you mad necessarily is stuff that interferes with your ability to be competent with that. So if you stub your toe, you can no longer focus on executing shit because your toe hurts, and that makes you mad. For me, it's like if I don't pay attention to ordinality of things, then I am getting interfered with. But I'm always yelling at space objects. You know, I fucking hate space objects because they're always getting in my way. You know, and so it's like TE, the ordinality, structuring things efficiently and stuff gets in the way of me just being conditional about things. But I have to provide it for the world in my sixth slot. Same with you and SI. SI just seems to get in the way of you SEing. Like you're in the middle of doing something, you realize you have to pee, it just gets in the way, right? So that's what people get.
A little bit, yeah.
That's how people think about their sixth slot usually.
I do feel like there's this part of me that like I just want to do what I want to do, and I just want to enjoy things. I definitely enjoy sights, sounds, smells. Like I love going. This is a great example. I just went to the yearly Renaissance Fair, and I love going because it's the bonfires, the smells, the sights, the sounds. Like there's so much to take in, and I enjoy it so much, and it means a lot to me when I go and I do these things, and I just love taking it all in.
Well, I mean, the thing is that what you just said there would actually typically be more consistent with SE1 or SE3, I suspect, but you describe it in such an operational way. In other words, you're using your tool function to enjoy things is a perfectly normal thing to do. And it's so sensory, right? It's like I'm the opposite end of the spectrum. When I go to any kind of outside event like that, I quickly become overstimulated, overwhelmed, and want to go home.
Yeah, if it's something I want to do, then like, and I think that's because I don't go to things like that a lot. I only go to something like that I know that I like and I'm going to enjoy, and I go for that reason to have that experience. Um, and
Well,
that's just,
and that's another thing I hear from ISFPs. I type a fair amount of them. The one thing that ISFPs and to a lesser extent, but still also ISTPs, will say is that they don't identify really as SE second because they're not that dewy, right? But
oh, and that's,
but
yeah,
but it is
I totally relate to that.
but it is it is an instrumental value. So in other words, on your own time, when you have the more liberty in life you have, the less you have to use your tool function, so to speak.
Okay. And could it be one of those things where because FI is so um, tailored to the individual's values, and it's so individual that my SE would look so different from other people's because my FE is specifically going to be serving that individual FI?
I mean, I say it looks like other ISFP's SE, which is the thing is you've got a combination here of the most deliberative function as your dominant nature, and the least deliberative function as your tool function. So it makes this on balance are more deliberative than you are executing, and as a consequence, if we just understand extroverted sensing in isolation, without linking it to the other functions, it will sound like the thing we're describing doesn't seem like the thing that ISFPs have in their tool slot. But because of its relationship with extroverted intuition, introverted feeling, and other things, the ISFP is ultimately more of a deliberator than they are an action type. And as a consequence, they don't really identify with the descriptions of the function.
I guess that would make sense because sometimes I feel like when I've been in a rut in my life or at times in my life, it's because I'm constantly wondering and thinking, well, what do I want? What do I want? How, how's this going to work out? What do I don't know what to do. Like I feel the strong need to do something, but like I will sometimes get into those moments where it's like, I'll get like stuck in like trying to figure out, well, what is it that you want? What is it that you want? What is it that you
And
want?
that's the highest resolution data. It's the slowest to process, right? So it's like FI processes the complicated data of your own actual feelings engagement with the world. It's very complicated in the sense that, like, let's say you've got a friend who's got a bad habit, you want to gently tell them that it's bugging you or something, and but you don't want to hurt their feelings, and then, or say you've got like I really want to go with Jody to this arts fair, but it'll hurt Mary's feelings because I already told her I was going to go to this other thing, and I shouldn't have double booked, but now I really want to cancel, and I have to make a decision. Like those are complicated questions to answer. Those are FI kind of questions to answer, and they take a lot longer to process by nature than do TI questions, which try to take all the meaning out of everything. So it's like some
Right.
A's are B's and all B's are C's, and some A's are C's, and it doesn't matter what word you put in for A, B, or C. So it's like it makes sense that with FI as a first slot function, you'll feel as though sometimes you're paralyzed by trying to resolve very complex questions about what you really most want and how to get there, or what action to take accordingly.
I do feel like a lot of my life has revolved around um, my identity and my value and my values and who I am as a person. And that's always been something I don't compromise on. And if I feel like I have to compromise it, that's like devastating for me. It's devastating. I've worked in the veterinary field since I was 19. I've always been passionate about helping animals because I feel like that's just what I wanted to do. It's what I was drawn to. Jane Goodall, Steve Irwin, Jeff Corwin, those people who just, so that was like, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. And I went and did it. Like, that's what I wanted to do. And I've done it since. And I actually work now as a licensed pharmacy technician in one of the biggest animal hospitals in my city. And I can't, when I went to school, decided to go to school, I felt like I couldn't settle on anything at first because I couldn't imagine doing anything that did not serve what I felt was my purpose and served who I was as a person. I couldn't do that. That would be absolutely soul sucking for me.
Yeah, well, I
And
mean,
when
you're what you're saying here reminds me of when I ran afoul of Taylor's girlfriend Katie, who's an ISFP. I was insisting that this particular piece of legal advice I was giving him was preferable piece of legal advice, but she felt as though it was basically endangering that which was precious to her. And boy, you want to talk about somebody who goes from placid seeming to angry mother bear in a second. ISFPs, it's like you're not going to ever get anywhere with argumentation with an ISFP who's determined what he or she feels is right. You're never going to move them at all.
So the way you just described that, I can imagine some of the people in my life, family closest to me, like I can go from being so pleasant to like 150 miles an hour, like just rage, like, and I never could really tell why though,
ISFP freakouts are
and I
impressive to so witness.
and then I would be so upset with myself because and almost immediately I would be so upset with myself because I'm like, oh my God, that's not right. That's not right. You shouldn't get mad at people like that. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't get angry like that. That's so that's and but like if somebody steps on me, like if somebody dismisses me, steps on anything I value or that I like or my into anything, like I get very triggered. And I never understood why I always felt this need to like defend and
Well, I mean that
like
this harm prevention is one of the key aspects of introverted feeling. So, for example, my introvert feeling is polar. One of the ways that expresses is there's been occasions where I'll go inside again after being out here for several hours and realize I had left the cat inside and she's been trying to get outside the whole time, right? But Rachel won't. Rachel has more awareness of like where the cat is at any given moment. So she always will intervene and say, "Is the cat still inside?" Because she's got more active FI than I do. It's not that
right.
I love the cat less. It's just I I don't think about harm prevention very much naturally, and so it's sometimes I'll forget or whatever. They probably make you really mad.
Mine, oh, it's I don't know, it's the way you describe it like that. I mean, I would have thought I had no SE. I don't know why. I guess I just didn't. I think I definitely feel that my definition of what SE was off. Um, but
It just
when you
doesn't look like
describe
it just
it,
doesn't look like what is described as an ISFPs. Consistently, it doesn't. And the thing is,
okay,
I think if you let me publish this, this will be a somewhat controversial typing. Actually, you're not as clear cut as some ISFPs are. You're a little bit more talkative, and there may be some parties who disagree with me and say something else. But I feel quite confident that you're an ISFP.
do you think it's do you think I could be like an E of any kind? Like,
I mean, I think I
it
think
it
people are going to say you're an ESFP,
okay.
but I don't think you are because you tested not polar on TI. Even though you knew one of the answers and stuff, you're still. I could see the process. It seems like fourth or eighth. At first, I thought it was fourth. Eighth and fourth can easily be mistaken for one another. So, I mean,
Well, I think one of the reasons I felt like I needed to be honest with that was just because I feel like it doesn't make sense and I'm not going to get the result I want if I just give the answer
right.
when I already knew the answer. That doesn't make sense. I want the right answer.
So
And
that sounds more like third slot NI than it does fourth slot NI as well. Fourth slot NI is instrumental, and so they typically don't. They're not worried about policing themselves in that fashion as much, especially since it's TI polar.
yeah, I think for me there's being authentic and being honest is very important to me because then I feel like I wouldn't be genuine. I wouldn't have anything that was real. I don't know. Like I feel like there has to be that kind of like I don't know. I that's just how I feel.
Well, let me tell you an authentic and true story. So
Okay.
I knocked out this tooth right here. How did I knock it out? Well, a polar bear was attacking Rachel, and I ran up and said, "Whoa, whoa!" and Rachel was able to get away. And then it swiped one swipe at me, and I pulled back and it just barely nicked my tooth with its massive claw. And then we escaped unharmed. Besides that, that's not really how I just bit into a soft sandwich and it just broke right off.
It's a good campfire story, though. Hey, you can tell it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, any last thoughts, questions, concerns, queries, complaints, quandaries, conundrums?
I guess the only thing that I would, I guess I'd be interested to see if people thought I was some kind of E. And I think that I thought that because of the stereotype that, like, oh, I'm a little loud. I'm willing to talk. I'm not this mousy, quiet person. But I think that's just because I'm just a little more sure of who I am and what I want to say and what my point is.
Right. Yeah, I think so too.
I can be very quiet. At my new job, like, I've had people saying, like, oh, she's so quiet, she doesn't talk to anybody. Oh, look at Julie sitting over there at her computer just judging everybody, being quiet. Like, if I'm comfortable with somebody, I will absolutely be chatty. But in a new situation, or I mean, I could do the small talk a little bit, I could do the nice courtesies with the cashier, but I can be very quiet. If for whatever reason I don't feel like I can express myself, I will be very quiet.
And the other factor is this: it's like there's a range of certain displays among certain types. Like, Rachel actually displays more introverted, I think, than most INFJs do. Even though when I first typed her, I thought she was an ENFJ, but she's really quite introverted. She's very quiet and rarely has much to say. So the fact is, depending on other things, just particular things, you could say Enneagram or whatever, there is a range of displays that a given type will show. And in this context, I'm getting a lot more of your particular display than one would get, for example, just watching you without talking to you, watching you move through the world. If I was just sort of like a eye in the sky watching, I would get a different perspective on you than me engaging you directly and asking you questions about yourself, which provoke more display. So the thing is, the deviation in your display here may or may not be actually representative of much deviation in display overall from most ISFPs. But I will agree that you seem a little bit more talkative than most ISFPs in this context. But I still think that the skills tests were pretty clear. That the slotting tests and stuff like that, they all seem pretty consistent with ISFP. So I feel pretty comfortable with that typing. And there may even be some people out there who go ESFJ, which would be kind of crazy because it's like the opposite functions. But yeah, you're gonna cause a little bit of controversy, I think, if you let me publish. But that's always good. That's always fun to have some people disagree. Usually these days, most people don't really even bother disagreeing with what my type is, because my typings of people are, because the tests are pretty definitive, usually.
Right. I mean, it's definitely a lot to think about, and
Okay, well, I'll stop recording and I'll share it with you privately first if you'd like, and then you can decide if you want to publish.
That's okay. Go ahead and post it.
All right, cool. So I'll publish it for tomorrow sometime. Okay.
Okay. Thank